Hello everybody, sorry again for a bit of a break. I was wrapping up my senior line. If you follow me on Instagram, you would know that and you will have seen the final project. Maybe I'll do videos about that in the future. I'm just not really sure what you guys want to see in regards to either my senior line class or studying fashion in general. I don't really know, let me know. But since it's been break, I have been getting back into watching movies. When I was in high school, I loved watching movies. I definitely would have called myself sort of a, I don't know, not a film snob, but I definitely wanted to analyze film perhaps in a more in-depth way than some other people do. I just really like creative things. I like art, I like fashion, I like movies. So yeah, it's just, I would like to get back into watching movies. In the past week, I've watched 6 movies. Actually, it hasn't even been a week yet. Most of which are older ones. One is new and in theaters now, so I will kind of just do a little collective review of all of them. I thought that would just be a fun little chatty video we could get into. I'm not sure how much space I have on my memory card though, so I'm gonna try and, you know, keep this short and sweet maybe. So a movie I'd been meaning to see for I guess like 7 years at this point is Blue Valentine. Wow, what a movie. What a heavy freaking movie. If you don't know what it's about, it is this sort of couple. It jumps back and forth between them just meeting each other kind of for the first time and them older in their relationship with a kid, just showing that stark contrast between just sort of having that blind love for someone and everything is just beautiful and magical, contrasted with, you know, a few years later when reality kind of sets in and you maybe start questioning how you actually feel about the other person that you have chosen to spend the rest of your life with. Very scary stuff. Could perhaps make you not want to get married. But ultimately at the end of the movie there was just so many emotions that I could relate to in relationships I've had, as well as just like, I don't know, how it's shot is very real and raw to a relationship. Most of you have probably seen this movie at this point, but if you haven't yet and you're into maybe some sort of darker, more organic romance movies, then I think you would enjoy this one. Next, I started getting into sort of a thriller streak. I had heard good things about The Good Neighbor. It's on Netflix. Blue Valentine used to be on Netflix. It's not anymore, just side note. But The Good Neighbor is, and it stars what's his name from It's Kind of a Funny Story and It Follows. I literally always forget that actor's name. I apologize, but he's a cutie and I enjoy him. It stars him and someone else. They're friends and they basically want to do a social experiment. It's just a prank, bro, to their neighbor across the street, this old man, and make him think his house is haunted. But they soon start to realize something else might be going on. Gets a little weird at points, gets a little scary at points, but it's not a horror movie. And there's definitely points where I wanted to turn it off because it felt like a very cheap teen kind of movie, but definitely stick it through. I think the ending really, really makes it worth it. So that one is a good one. I should be rating these. Out of 10, I would give Blue Valentine a 7 or an 8. 5 being like the very middle, like neutral ground. 1 being didn't like it at all. 10 being like it's a holy grail. So I would give it like a 7 or an 8. The Good Neighbor, I would probably also give a strong 7. I didn't mean to do strong 7 like the needle drop. Like a 7 point. That's even a bit much. 7. A solid 7. Okay, moving on. After that, I watched The Invitation, which I had always seen on Netflix, and I'll be honest, the way they describe it in the sentence, in a little one-liner sentence on Netflix, it really does not let you in on what this movie is really about, if that makes any sense. And I really don't want to spoil anything. This is one of those movies I think you should just go into knowing as little as possible, but I'll go ahead and say that it is about this guy who is taking his new girlfriend to go visit his ex-wife's house. The ex-wife is kind of hosting a party with her new boyfriend, husband, it's kind of unclear, and some of their old friends. You see that there's something kind of mysterious, dark about the couple's past, as well as something very odd that is going on with the ex-wife and her new husband now. It's shot in this beautiful mid-century modern home in the Hollywood Hills, so aesthetically very cool. It's got that sort of cozy vibe that you get when you go to a sort of family party, but it keeps all of those like genuine awkward, ooh, I don't really want to be here moments. And then by the end, it just takes like a 180, gets pretty dark, we'll just say that. So definitely recommend that one. I would give that one an 8 on my rating scale. Then unfortunately things just took a nosedive. I was recommended 13 Cameras via Netflix because of The Good Neighbor, I think. In The Good Neighbor, I forgot to mention they use a lot of cameras to kind of spy on this neighbor while they are pranking him. And 13 Cameras, like it sounds, is also involving sort of secret cameras planted in this young couple's home. Now it is from sort of the, at points, perspective of this very creepy, like cartoonishly creepy landlord. Okay, I almost am gonna get mad talking about this movie because I think it's literally the dumbest movie I think I've ever seen in my entire life. So it's this evil, creepy landlord who has installed cameras in this young couple's home. The wife is pregnant, and this is not a spoiler, but honestly, if I spoil the film, who cares? Because you should not waste your time watching it anyway. As he is spying on this couple, he realizes that the husband is cheating on his wife. So basically, the whole movie is him like getting off to people, like taking a shower and having sex in a pool. And the ending is probably the dumbest ending I've ever seen in a movie ever. I would spoil this. Just go read the Wikipedia if you're that interested, but honestly, don't waste your time watching this movie. It's a 1 on my scale of 1 to 10. It's a 1, a hard 1. It's really bad. You guys don't watch it. I instantly had to rinse this horrendous movie out of my eyes, and I decided to dive into one that has been scaring me from watching it for a long time, but I finally took the dive, and I'm so glad I did. What a contrast from 13 Cameras. I watched They Look Like People, which look at this poster. Is that not the creepiest thing you've ever seen in your life? And that's why I didn't want to watch it for a long time. Had no idea what this movie was about. I remembered seeing people talk about it back in the day. I think it came out in 2015, 2016, I could be wrong. Again, this is one that you should just go into not knowing anything about, or knowing just as minimal about it as possible. I'll give you the quick synopsis. This is not going to spoil anything because I don't want to spoil anything about this movie. Honestly, guys, just like right now, so you know, this movie is like in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I've only seen it once, but I can genuinely say that it left that big of an impact on me. And it is creepy, don't get me wrong, and I usually don't like horror movies, but I'm trying to like ease myself into them as of late. Anyway, I'm losing my train of thought. So this movie starts off with this guy. He lives in New York City, and you can tell he's kind of insecure, aren't we all? He's kind of insecure because he doesn't feel like a man. He doesn't feel like he's ever been super brave, and we'll kind of leave it at that. He ends up stumbling, or how do I say, he ends up running into an old friend of his. The circumstances are kind of weird. Again, I don't want to get into that too much, but you start to learn more about this friend and the fact that he is starting to perhaps see things, hear things that might be there but might not actually be there. This movie is scary in a way that a lot of other horror movies don't touch on. It doesn't rely on cheap jump scares, which I'm always a fan of movies that don't rely on cheap jump scares. Think It Follows and The Babadook. Like, I really love both of those movies. If you like either or both of those, I think you would also like this one, perhaps even more. I think this movie is just very honest in how it approaches a very, very serious subject, which you'll understand watching the film. I think it ties everything up super nicely at the end. A lot of people didn't like this movie because they didn't think it was actually scary. They didn't think the ending made sense. If you just take it all in and you look at what the movie is laying out for you, the ending is probably one of the best endings I've ever seen in a movie ever. I would love to talk more in depth spoilers about this movie in the future. I love it. It's probably like a 9.5 for me. It's really good. It's really good. And with that, into the last movie that I just saw last night. I saw Lady Bird in theaters now. Not sponsored. But anyway, this stars Saoirse Ronan, who I love. I love The Lovely Bones. That's one of my all-time favorite movies. Whenever I need just like a solid cry, The Lovely Bones does it for me. Sorry, I see we've got some light coming in here. But Lady Bird is just your kind of basic indie coming-of-age tale from the perspective of a young girl. Young by like 18. She's a senior in high school. She's going to Catholic school, and it first just starts off kind of introducing all the characters in a quirky sort of format. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't love this movie at first, and I don't want to say that in like a bad way. Like, I was enjoying my time watching the movie, but I wasn't in the first act thinking like, oh, this is gonna be like a top 10 movie for me. This is awesome. It's a fun ride. I feel like it relies a little bit too much on young adult indie movie cliches in certain aspects. But aside from that, I do think this movie has genuine heart. It is really freaking funny at some points. It takes place in the year 2002, which is odd for me because I guess 2002 is retro at this point. But anyway, so with that in mind, it gave me similar vibes to watching like Boyhood did, where I was like, oh my gosh, I remember that. Like, I remember that happening. Or there was just certain aspects of like being 18, being excited for college, dealing with boys and dealing with friends and all of that were super, super relatable. Of course, like I said, it's a coming of age tale. So with all of that in mind, I thought it was a pretty cute movie. I would maybe watch it again, but I wouldn't like seek after watching it again. There's not much to like analyze there, obviously, but sometimes you don't need that in a movie. I would probably give this one a 7.5. And that is everything, guys. That is everything I have seen in the past week or so. I will maybe do a, what am I trying to say? I'll maybe do a favorite movies of all time on my channel. I think that could be a good way to get us rolling on this sort of movie series on this channel. I think I did one in the past, but it definitely needs to be updated. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you think of any of the films that I talked about in this video. But until then, I will catch y'all in the next one. Bye.